Welcome back. So we're going to be looking at some quickies, but focus on Batgirls 15. And focus is a bit of a generous word there. But gosh, I've been skipping lots of Nightwing, so I just need to catch up. And unfortunately, I didn't get the most recent one in time, so I'm still behind. But here we have the annual. The publisher synopsis says, "Who is Heartless? Find out who the villain is behind the platinum mask and why he only collects the hearts of some victims and not others, and why he has no heart himself." Then Bitewing year one, follow Haley in her first year with her humans, Nightwing and Batgirl, and see how she takes a bite out of crime in her first year becoming Bitewing. I will say the other, and there's a beautiful story with Dick and John Kent as well. But Bitewing is fun just because this is what Bitewing, Haley gets up to when she's left alone. She has imaginings that her owners are kidnapped by all of Batman's rogues. And she ends up helping them out. Now, something that we do learn from them or from this issue is that Barbara at times sends scandy photos to Dick Grayson because she sent a photo. He said, "What am I looking at?" And she said, "A picture of what I'm wearing under this overcoat." And then he starts immediately changing. So Barbara didn't know you had it in you, but here we go. So that was the annual 99. So it's not just me. The publisher synopses are wacky. They are wacky. I did I have it in here? New share. This right here. Okay. It says something about the Titans, but no, the whole story is about Melinda Zuko basically, and the big thing is that she becomes Grayson officially. So, and her father's behind bars? Question mark. I think, or he breaks out, and then I think Heartless makes a deal with him. Yeah. So Babs isn't in 99. With 100, which was an oversize, the publisher synopsis says, "Come join us with big smiles and even bigger celebrations as Nightwing hits his milestone issue number 100. Cheer how far we've come by looking through the decades at what has made Nightwing a beloved hero," which of course was like 5 pages of his different outfits. "What better way to celebrate than with familiar friends and artists?" Then, with Heartless creating a lair in the heart of Bloodhaven to take Blockbuster's throne, Nightwing will follow suit, setting up a headquarters of his own with the help of some friends who helped him uh, who helped make him who he is now, of course. So Oracle, actually, this might be here that Zuko and Heartless are together. So not in the previous one, but anyways, Oracle offers assistance on the mission, and there's a moment with the three of them, Dick, Babs, and Oracle. Of course, Melinda's there as well, looking out over the city and what can they do. And at the very end, after Melinda leaves, he asks both Haley and Babs to change the world with him, which is great. And then the previous page where I really love this moment where they're at Alfred's grave, apparently for the first time together, and just this beautiful moment here. And then later on, he says, "I love you, Dad," which I thought was really nice. So I recommend, of course, reading Nightwing. But now let us get into Batgirls number 15, Dead Wrong, which I keep reading as Dead Wong. And I don't know where I've gotten that. I feel like it's an episode from something. Dead Wong. You are dead. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. If you can remind me of what that is, because I think it's a pop culture reference on something. BD Wong, you're dead Wong. I don't know. Anywho, here we are. Batgirls 15. Will it live up to Batgirls 14? No, it won't. Story: Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad. Art: Neil Googe. And colors: Rico Renzi. And yes, my synopsis is actually the publisher synopsis, and then I'll add a little bit to it, but honestly, not too much happens. So here's a publisher synopsis. There's nothing like some father daughter bonding, unless you're Stephanie Brown and you thought your father was dead until he kidnapped you. At least your BFF Cassandra Cain's determined to find you. It's a deadly adventure for Cass, but nothing can stop her from risking it all to save Steph, unless it's death itself. So Arthur is looking for some honest responses and getting Steph to admit her, this is me, admit her feelings about him and herself. And he shocks her with electricity if she doesn't respond how he wants her to. The cabin is booby trapped. Steph punches her dad out. He blows up part of the cabin and then accidentally shoots Steph when he was aiming for Cass. And he, because Steph is dead, literally, he nearly kills himself, but Cass stops him. So Steph does die, but Cass, who, of course, took a couple vials filled with the Lazarus serum, ends up dispersing that serum to Steph, and she awakens. And it's explained that because she didn't die that long ago, Steph doesn't become a nutter, basically. Arthur gets put in, Arthur gets put into Arkham Tower, and he is asked for help in catching Jervis Tetch, aka Mad Hatter, maybe even a clue, but he says that's not him anymore. And then at the very end, the girls gather on the roof and bond, and there is a bloody statue with a letter that is left at Grace O'Halloran's apartment. So this cover here is Steph. There's an image that she would not have drawn when she was a child because she didn't know Cass, but pretending that she did, she is ripping that up because her relationship with her father is no more. He's dressed as Clue Master and she's dressed as Batgirl, and she is, yeah, kidnapped by Daddy Dearest. And there it is, 13 plus teen. So maybe it's because, for a sec, maybe I just didn't scroll down far enough. I don't even know. But honestly, yeah, this we come off the highest of highs in 14, and we go to this, which it just seems like not a lot happens. Like, could this be women talking? Maybe it's father daughter talking, but I don't know. I guess I just wanted something more. Like, it's an emotion filled issue. That's what we're getting through. What is the relationship between Arthur and his daughter? What, how does he truly feel about her? How does she truly feel about him? And also, is she honest with herself and things like that? Now, I did some like cursory research because the fact that he is electrocuting her, which it looks humorous here, but I felt like he's never actively harmed her before. Now, psychological damage is one thing, but like physical damage. And I even went through like, these appearances and things, and he's done things. He almost threw some acid into her face until, was it Robin revealed that it was Steph, because he didn't know that it was her. But all the time he has not laid a hand on her. Now, she in a previous time, like pre-new 52, has punched him out, so her violence on him has happened. Perhaps is warranted, though. Is any violence really warranted? But he's never gone to this extreme, and so I wonder if we've captured the actual relationship between the two of them. And this issue just didn't feel like what I would have expected it to feel. Are the writers trying to really make it parallel with Cass and Shiva? Though initially that was Steph fighting Shiva, and then, they kind of had a heart to heart when it was actually Cass. But there was no violence involved in that. Like, could they not have an actual conversation? And Steph does admit things that I think we believe to be true. That, yeah, she does see some of herself in him, and he sees, some of, wait, that she does see some of him in herself. And of course, he tries to get her to admit that she does deep down still love him, but, he's pretty messed up, right? Um, but I don't know. And like having it with this game show, why he won't tell her how he came back to, I don't know what the point is. Like, we just tell her. Now, the only thing that I can say that could explain this whole issue and how he is acting is, of course, the Lazarus pit. But I hate how easy that is, just because it's like, yeah, it's just one answer that clears everything up. Whereas I think the writing should speak for itself and explain why he's acting like this. But yeah, he's thrown in the Lazarus pit. Who knows how long he was dead? We know that people come back and they're nuts when they come back. And so here we have it. But I don't know how long he's been alive. Could that insanity have worn off? I don't he just seems overly violent. But if that's how we want to explain it, then sure. But otherwise, it's just I don't necessarily recognize this relationship. I think it's fraught and it's not a healthy relationship. But I think having that violence enter in just seems too much. I think that's my sticking point, is just I feel like he's never laid a hand on her physically. So, I don't know, it just is like this the sticking point for me. But yeah, no, it's just this weird game show. He's asking her questions. He's like beating her down. It's like he's very abusive in this. So if he had caused psychological trauma in the past with things, um, I feel like he still loved her and he wouldn't I just don't think that he would go to this extreme to make all this happen. I mean, he's a madman. Look at this page that he's yelling and she's crying. It's nuts. Even David Kane, like if we were to compare David Kane's relationship with Cass, my gosh, is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we are trying to make it more similar to that and have that abuse that's seen as love put in there, because he's just trying to compel her to tell him the truth that he knows. Yeah, I don't know. So I felt like it was a lackluster issue. I guess I can't really get my thoughts too much in order, but I'm just kind of stumped by the violence and it just didn't feel right. I think if it were other characters, maybe if there had been pre-established physical violence between the characters, I but it just I for some reason it's just a stopping point for me, and it just seems like a very weird and contrived thing, this whole situation, whereas we could have I don't know, could have had a conversation, but I guess we can't have a normal conversation with this guy. So Cass breaks in, obviously, and I don't know why. It's rigged to blow. He's like, no one's gonna come out. Well, there's all these booby traps, as if he knew. I don't know how no one else is getting hit by the syringes and all of that stuff. And then who's he trying to hit exactly? Is he? It's very like blowing something up. I'm confused. Like, how did you? I guess it was a what is that called? A blank explosion, a controlled explosion. So he knew it was just going to be this part of the house, but it just seems like he is nuts. And then he's like, no one's leaving until I say it's over. And well, I mean, threatening with a gun and shooting the gun are two different things. And then of course she saves Cass. And then he's like, oh no. So you can actually see, he loves her so much. He can't believe that this has happened. And um, now he's going to end it. But she stops him. And then, yeah, we actually see Steph die, which of course we saw by pretend in, gosh, what issue was that? Like 5 or 6 way back when with Bongo. She did. DED dead. And then the Lazarus serum. But we are told, I can't remember where we saw this. Oh, okay. So we're told on this page that Arthur was dead for 3 days. So 3 days, resurrected, and then who knows how long he's been. Did he immediately after his resurrection go after Steph? I guess I wouldn't put it past him. And then yeah, we have purple boxes. I think that's the only time we say them. We have a shipper moment potentially on this motorcycle between Steph and Cass that they saved each other, which is a beautiful moment. And then I guess Arthur's given up the game and then at the end there too. Yeah. It would have been interesting actually to see Steph go a bit nuts after the serum, but I wish I could find it to prove what I'm talking about here. But um, the fact that she had died so recently and then Cass administered it is why she's not going nuts. But I wonder what a nuts Stephanie Brown would be like. I guess I'll find out soon with War Games. So, oh, and then this Grace O'Halloran, whatever is going on here. She's got an eye patch now. Who even knows what's going on? Read me. Who knows? But next up, a very important date. So, yeah, I guess I just don't, it's almost like I just don't have a lot to say about this particular issue. I think it was built up a great deal. I think the Shiva and Cass, while not perfect, that was interesting to see those two, and as well as Shiva and Steph, but you didn't really get to see anything between Cass and Arthur to see what that would have been like to have that role reversal. And then this was just nuts, and it just didn't feel right. I will say in my cursory, and if I'm wrong, please, yeah, give me examples of when you know, Arthur may have perpetuated or yeah, perpetuated when he may have committed a physically violent act against Steph. I would love to hear it. But in my research of that, I also noticed that Riddler Pre-New 52 was involved. And I can't remember what the exact details were, but either he knew where Clue Master was and wouldn't tell Steph, or was like offering to give her a clue or something like that. So I'm like, oh wow, it really comes full circle. Or perhaps these writers were looking back and seeing what he had been doing. So yeah, let me know what you have to say about that one. I feel like it's pretty forgettable. I guess the positives are, I was about to move on without even rating it, but I guess the positives are that we get to know a little bit more about Steph and what Steph thinks of herself. So it is, gosh, we really are pushing Stephanie Brown as the main character almost, but we think she's finally honest with herself, which is good. And so perhaps this will be a big character moment for her and really growth. But we need to see, like with all things, what the result of this is. So if this happens, but it just happens in a vacuum, then that's poor storytelling. So how does she continue on from that? And then, of course, the girls I think are even more bonded than ever, given what has gone down, that they switched bodies, that they both nearly died for each other, and they saved each other. So, um, grade wise, I don't know. I'll be generous and give it I mean, I don't think feel like the previous issues were better. So I'll give it 7 out of 10 cup nudes. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I feel like we're moving on to a new arc, so let's start fresh and see what we can do as just a duo because Barbara Gordon apparently is not in this book anymore. So there you go. Well, let us move on to, I believe my last thing is literature recommendations. Okay, so I think the last thing I talked about was Aliens Vasquez. I did read a couple romance novels. It's fun to pair queer romance novels with regular romance novels. So, a queer romance novel I read was A Flaw in Our Design by Monica McCallan. I then read Normal People by Sally Rooney. I had seen the Hulu series. The Hulu series is like very closely adapting this book. But I want to read the book after I watch that show. That's where I found out about Paul Mescal, who's, I feel like, an amazing actor. So recommend that. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I was 5 stars, 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Highly recommend this. It was witty, smart, love the main character. Um, thoughtful, emotional, like um kind of some twists too. But I guess over Thanksgiving, went home and my mom and I went to go see The Fablemans. And right before, went to Barnes& and Noble to pick up a manga volume for my nephew. And there was this huge display about lessons in chemistry. And I like pick it up. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like it was hot now or something like that. And I think my mom offered to purchase this, but something happened. I can't remember what exactly it was, but ended up not. And I was like, no, no, don't worry about it. And then just put it on my wish list or the hold in the library and loved it. Loved it. So it's definitely worth that Barnes and Noble what's hot situation. The Latinist by Mark Prince. That is going to be the next required reading. I hesitate to recommend it. I liked 90% of it. 10% of it was really frustrating. If you don't like stalkers, or people doing things because they want you close to them, I wouldn't recommend it. If you like Ovid and Daphne and Apollo, that kind of gives you an idea of what that's about, then give it a shot. Zombie, A New Spelling of My Name by Audre Lorde. I was waiting so long, like years, I think, to get this. It finally randomly came into the library. I kept checking and like, oh, it came in, and then I was the first one on the list. Het romance, Wired by Julie Garwood. Julie Garwood is probably one of the few romance authors that I've read the entire series on one of these. So this is one of the Buchanan Renard series. The Whale by Samuel D. Hunter. I saw that movie and I saw this play when I went up at the drama bookstore at New York City, so I bought it. Then my final one that I just finished, another queer romance, A Life Worth Living, again by Monica McCallan. She generally um, writes writes good ones. I mean, they all follow the same trope, honestly. So I think that's it, or tropes, I should say, and kind of the um a roadmap, like a similar roadmap that you could kind of flip to, a certain percentage of the book and be like, okay, this is when the first kiss is going to be, then flip, okay, they're going to get together here, okay, flip, they're going to break up because there's some sort of conflict. So I generally know what's going on, but the people are all new in the situations and everything. Okay, well, remember you can send any questions or comments to backrolltheoracle@gmail.com. Sorry if this was lackluster, but we'll try to pep up for the next one, and hopefully the comics can help me out there as well. Like the show on Facebook or follow it on Twitter at backrolltheoracle. Subscribe to the show on YouTube for an uncut version. You can always comment on those videos. Follow the Batman Universe on Facebook and Twitter as well. And support the Batman Universe by subscribing to Patreon. Once again, thanks to Mile High Comics for sponsoring Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast. And until next time, fly on, lovers. What? Why does this happen? Fly on, Babs lovers.